All right. Well, Dr. Sharfstein, thanks for coming on today for this monthly installment of the President's Column interview. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Stephen Sharfstein um, is our local legend here in Maryland. He's done so much to to offer care for those in need in Maryland, but also lead the way when it comes to psychiatric leadership. Started off at NIMH and then deputy medical director for APA prior to coming to Shepherd Pratt, initially as president, then served as president and CEO for, I think, almost 25 years, if I got that correct. But also served as president of APA 2005, 2006. Did I get that correct?
Right.
All right, all right. Well, today I wanted to speak with you a little bit about the new strategic plan that was released by the APA a month and a half ago or so that works to, I think, refine maybe the mission vision of APA, but also present a 5-year strategic plan that focuses on medical leadership, member success, and organizational strength. And
Right.
in my opinion, it's a little bit of a I say it's a little bit more of a refined view of APA, I think, than has existed in the past, where maybe the goal was a little bit broader and maybe a little bit more had more of a political uh, policy advocacy approach to it, and I think there's a bit of a shift. So I just want to get your reflections first of all, and hear what you think and what you think it means.
Sure. I'm a strategic planning veteran. I've been through quite a few strategic plans. At Shepherd Pratt, I was actually at Shepherd Pratt for 30 years, and 25 of those years I was the president of Shepherd. Before that, I was medical director. And I think in my first 5 years, we did because I was new and it would look like I was going to become the president. We did a strategic plan, and then we did a strategic plan 10 years after that, and another 10 years. And I kind of thought it was a useful exercise, but what happens very often is that you work on it, it seems interesting and exciting and clarifying and gives you a direction. Strategic directions is what we came up with, is most important. But then it's mostly put on the shelf afterwards. I mean, you have to deal with day-to-day kinds of issues. And in a hospital setting, it's crises, as you know, Ron. And, it's something that's happening and you got to deal with it now. And it's hard to think that what we're trying to do is, grow our community programs or what, we know that, and it gives you a direction. And this one I thought was really well done overall. I mean, first of all, it was extremely participatory. They got a lot of feedback through the councils and committees, through the general membership. They must have gotten hundreds of inputs from members of the APA about what APA is doing, and then they took what we know is what the APA is all about. I mean, it's about our patients, it's about our members, it's about healthcare in general and psychiatry's place within healthcare. It's about professionalism, and they put it into, I thought, really good language. So I think it's a good overall. It's a good document. The part of it that was most interesting to me because I was chair of the budget of the APA, during the strategic planning process, and I'm still on the budget committee of the APA. But the financial stability of the APA is really an important piece. And their goal is to get to themselves in a good financial position by 2030. But the APA is not in good financial shape.
Right.
They have to rely on their endowment to make ends meet. And over time, the business of the APA has eroded in the sense that we've not kept up with dues. We didn't raise dues for I think we had a small raise in dues over a decade. And the last 5 years, now there was a dues increase this year. Finally, they're playing catch up. So it's way behind inflation. But it's not just the dues. The DSM is so important to the APA, and now we're in a period where we're not going to do a new DSM for some years. And the publications in general, as though it's a very important piece of the APA, is not going to fill the hole that is the deficit. The almost a 10% deficit in the operations of the APA. And then the annual meeting is completely different, than it once was. I mean, I went to annual meetings in San Francisco and New York where we had over 20,000 people come, psychiatrists from all over the world. In San Francisco in May, it's estimated that it'll be a great meeting if there are 11,000 or 12,000. And the exhibit halls are not what they once were, which may be good because they were a bit over the top. And our reliance on pharma was, a bit over the top. I think that sort of straightened it out. But the economic consequences is that we don't have the kind of income flow that we once did. So it's one of the ways to think about it is the business model of the APA is broken.
Right.
We have to find some new products. I mean, now I'm gonna, I'm putting on my MBA hat. We have to find some new products, and we have to market, and we have to find sources of revenue that we hadn't had before. And within this strategic plan is that idea, but the name of the game is going to be making that happen. Between now and 2030, they say 2030 they're going to have, they won't have to rely on the on the endowment, on the reserve. We've been very lucky, as has other nonprofits, by the good performance of the stock market. But that can go in the other direction just as easily. And if it does go in the other direction for the APA, we're going to be in, up a creek.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to be major changes and, whatever. I mean, another thing that was unexpected was the pandemic. I mean, nobody expected that. And what did that do to the occupancy of our headquarters? And we have to market that space. I mean, that's part of the job. So the APA is in the real estate business. The APA is in the publishing business. Those are all good things, but they're going to have to be some other changes to take place between now and 2030 for the APA to really, be in solid financial shape. So that part of the strategic plan, I think, well, I'm a person that's very interested in this. I'm a kind of unusual psychiatrist because in terms of thinking about the economics of psychiatry, but that part of it, the financial piece, is I think the most important piece of the strategic plan.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? I agree with you. I think it's critical. I was surprised in participating in the district branch leadership meetings. I was surprised to understand that some even district branches are in struggling financial shape. I'm happy to say that MPS is not one of those, but it is concerning.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this happens at the district branch level too. I mean, that's the other complexity of the APA, is that it's made up of these district branches, and they have dues and other kinds of things that they've got to support themselves, and they're in deficit too.
That's right. That's right. How do we, I guess, combine the business aspect of APA with the part that I think people know most about, I think, which is kind of the advocacy part of APA in terms of fighting to ensure that we can provide the best care for patients as possible. How do those two meet, or how can we make them meet, I guess, when thinking about our own participation in APA or what to expect from APA leadership?
Well, that gets into a different space. The mission of the APA and the vision of the APA is all about the care we provide to patients. How well prepared are we to meet society's expectations of psychiatrists and medicine's expectations of us as the specialty that focuses on an extremely important piece of medical epidemiology, the seriously and persistently mentally ill, and how we deal with the poor and disparities, which is true in all of medicine, but particularly true in our specialty.
Right.
And the APA has got to be the light in relation to that. And our ethics are really important too, because psychiatry is different than other medical specialties in that it's expected that we get involved in the criminal justice system, in in issues of safety, for our communities, in issues that relate to um, uh, basic human rights.
Right.
I mean, this is something that's all about the APA.
That's right.
And as you know, Ron, I am somewhat critical. I'm recently a little more pleased with the APA's advocacy in this terrible era that where we are. In part because I think the APA has been quiet and in terms of its advocacy because of fear of the potential downside economically to the APA of an administration that doesn't like psychiatry, doesn't like psychiatrists, doesn't like our medications especially, is and has attacked viciously the federal support for treatment for care of our patients through the through the destruction of SAMHSA. They haven't just pared it back; it is destroyed. Uh,
Right.
and in terms of Medicaid, Medicaid is the key, most important payer of psychiatric treatment in the United States. Medicaid, and it's going to be in the next couple of years. We're going to just see our patients thrown off the rolls, and we're going to be rolling back time to where we're going to expect states to pick up the slack, and they're not going to do it. Certainly, the private sector is not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the APA has got to be right up front about that, and not whatever.
Yeah. No, it's a tough position. I've
I have to call you back.
no
Yeah.
worries.
Okay.
I understand the
Ah,
difficulties on both sides of it. Take your time.
this is a grandchild. Yes, Issa, I have to call you back. Okay, bye.
I love it. Priorities. That's what's most
Right.
important. But it's a difficult position, right? To balance those two and have that real pressure of that fear that so many are bowing to while you are trying to do what you know is right. I'm curious. I know that you've been doing great work with the Committee to Protect Public Mental Health. I'd like to hear a little bit about that so that our viewers, our members can learn a little bit about the organization.
Well, I'm not alone in expressing concern and questioning where's the APA when one thing or another outrageous thing is happening when when something's happening. So a group of us got together and we've started our own organization separate from the APA. I mean, it includes other than myself, other former presidents of the APA. We have a month, now it's every 6 weeks, meeting of former presidents of the APA. It includes 8 former presidents of the APA, this group, the Committee to Protect Public Mental Health. But it's about 50 folks who have expressed their concerns, and we've spoken up. You know, trying to make clear we're not the APA, but the APA has been concerned about us because they feel it's confusing the APA's message. Well, but the fact is, there's no consensus among psychiatrists
That's
here,
right.
and so uh, this group isn't looking to expand. We found our voice. We have a way that we speak up. We've been noticed. Recently, there was the national meeting of the Mental Health Association, where all the branches of the MHA, Mental Health Association, met in Chicago. And they invited our group because we have a web page that speaks to misinformation in psychiatry. And we presented on how to counter misinformation about psychiatric medications, about psychiatric treatment more broadly, and that was very well received by them, by the MHA, and we gave them practical information about how to correct misinformation. That's not something the APA is doing.
Right, right. No, I think it's a great tool. It's as you know, many people have reached out and said, "Hey, I think we need to be taking a stronger stance, and how do we do that?" And maybe they feel that APA is not doing enough. So having folks like yourself in the committee, I think, are great ways to do more if you feel that that is the approach that should be taken.
And for me, this is deja vu. 20 years ago, when I was president of the APA, we learned through investigative reporting, it was in the New Yorker and actually in the New England Journal, it was a report, that the US government was using psychiatrists in the interrogation of detainees in the war on terror at Guantanamo and other places around the world. They were using psychiatrists to help gather information about potential terrorist plots. And immediately, I thought that this was potentially unethical for psychiatrists to be participating in interrogations. That began a year-long process, including a visit that I made along with other people from other organizations, the Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, the Surgeon Generals, and there was a big kind of meeting at Guantanamo. We actually spent a whole day flying to 24 hours into Guantanamo, meeting with the staff, meeting with folks, and then coming back and then discussing the appropriateness and the ethics of using medical personnel in the interrogation of detainees. And the APA, to its great credit, through its governance process, the board and the assembly passed a position statement and an ethical guideline about psychiatrists participating in this. Now, the Bush administration was not happy with us. We got a lot of pushback, and there was concern expressed that we were alienating, the administration. But as a result, and this was very specific about the role of psychiatrists, the government, the army, stopped using psychiatrists for interrogations, and the psychiatrists in the army were pleased because they could say we can't do this because it's contrary to our ethics. And I mean that was an example of really kind of standing up. The APA during the same time period when I was president was the first medical society to come out in favor of same-sex marriage as good for mental health. And it was after us that the AMA and others, adopted similar positions, advocacy positions.
Yeah,
And we weren't following other people. We were leading the pack. And that's what I think the APA should be doing.
yeah. No, I remember each of those times in history. I agree, it was great work that was done, and important in terms of moving large societal issues forward. You know, uh, as you know, the challenge now is, I think, even the respect for that scientific opinion or scientific evidence and how that's valued in our society. But that doesn't change, the approach that we should take in at least having our voice heard. So I appreciate that. Um, but I don't want to keep you forever. I know you need to get to your grandchild. So thank you so much for participating in this interview. I'll make sure
Sure.
that we have a link to the committee included as part of the newsletter so people can take a look and hopefully reach out if they have interest in participating and helping.
Okay, great,
All right.
great. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Dr.
and thank you for your leadership of the MPS. It's great that you're doing this.
Thank you very much.